Just about 1 year ago, I lied to over 3 million people. So I made this video where I was trying to beat the original Scribblenauts with as few unique words as possible. And spoilers for that video, I first managed to beat the game with 3 items: wedding cake, gun, and rope. Then, after the discovery of a game-breaking glitch, I was able to push it down to 2 words: vending machine and handcuffs. So from there, the only logical thing to do would be to look for one item that could beat the entirety of Scribblenauts by itself. And it's kind of a tough ask. Although this game is open-ended and allows you to skip a bunch of puzzles to create an optimal route around your items, there is one required tutorial level at the beginning of the game that requires you to spawn a food item. And well, food isn't generally that useful in Scribblenauts. In my first run, I decided to spawn a wedding cake because it was a food item that you could also use as a platform. And the only reason my second run worked is because a vending machine can spawn a single chocolate bar. So the solution is to try to find one incredibly useful item that happens to spawn a food item. And at the end of the video, I found an object just like that. This is Santa Claus, who, after some research, I found out that he not only spawns chocolate and candy canes, but he randomly spawns other items from a 29 item loot table. These items include an action figure, baseball, board game, boomerang, camera, candy cane, Christmas sweater, chocolate, coal, coloring book, doll, diamond ring, game, kitten, lava lamp, moon shoes, paintbrush, puppy, rubber duck, scarf, shrink ray, snow globe, statuette, tarot cards, teddy bear, top, voodoo doll, whoopee cushion, and a winged helmet. While a lot of these items are kind of junk, a bunch of them are actually pretty useful. So it seems like that's it. Santa is the obvious solution, as we can get past these required levels to get to the more open-ended part of the run, where we can start to construct a route around Santa's loot table. The problem was the other required level. This is 10-1. It's the first level in the final world, which means that it is absolutely required to get to the end of the game. And this one is not very kind to us. You have to grab this starite before it falls into the spikes, and since you spawn way above it, you're intended to be able to slow it down or catch it in order to clear the level. So while I briefly entertained the idea of a Santa-only run at the end of my last video, I quickly shut it down by saying there's no way to beat 10-1 with only Santa Claus. And that was where I lied. You see, I don't think I really believed that. This game has a very janky physics engine, and I suspected there might be some sort of way to manipulate the starite into falling in the perfect way. But I didn't want to do it at that point. Let me put it into perspective. I'd been working on this video for like a month. I'd already routed the game twice with 3 items and 2 items, and I was confident that if I got the video out in December, I'd be able to reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So I added the segment where I briefly mentioned the possibility, hoped no one would call me out on it, and I think I made the right choice. Naturally, with a lot of attention and a lot of comments, there were a lot of actually comments, and I think this statistic is very interesting. Not a single one of those comments pointed out the Santa thing. Like, people will just spread misinformation about a game they haven't played since they were 9, have a huge ego about it, and then miss the most glaring flaw in the video. This says so much about society. Anyways, I got away with this for months until the Scribblenauts world record holder Soap Agent called me out on it like 5 months later. Yes, 10-1 is possible using Santa Claus, which means that as long as we can find enough other levels in between to get there, we could beat Scribblenauts, the game about using your imagination to summon anything you want to solve puzzles in creative ways using just one single word. Before we get into it, let's quickly recap the rules for this challenge. First, and most obviously, we are going for the least amount of unique summons. We can resummon Santa as many times as we like, but summoning any other type of item is against the rules. Second, I am running this game in accordance with the any% rules on speedrun.com. This means we aren't playing for the credits or 100%, we are playing to beat the final level 10-11 puzzle. Unlike the speedrun.com rules, Rule 3 is that we're not allowed to repeat any levels. The progression in this game is entirely based on a currency called Allers. You can unlock worlds by spending certain amount of Allers, but Allers can be obtained not only by clearing a level for the first time, but also by replaying levels you've already beaten. This rule basically just makes it so that we have to play unique levels to progress, rather than grinding one level over and over again to disregard the entire challenge. And finally, Rule 4 is famously that you should like and comment on the video and subscribe to the channel. I did the same sub plug a year ago when I was at 8,000 subscribers trying to reach 10k, and now I have 100k subscribers. So I just wanted to do a quick thank you to everyone who's watched and supported my videos. It means a lot to me that I've gotten so much support in just 1 year. My partner took me to Chili's to celebrate 100k. That was pretty cool, but when I reached out to play the Chili's games on the Chili's tablet, they stopped me and said that the games actually cost money to play and that 100k wasn't enough for me to play them. I got them to agree that if I hit 500k, I'll get to play the Chili's games next time. So I've got a long road ahead of me, so subscribe if you want to support me in my journey to play knockoff Chili Subway Surfers on my partner's credit card. So I named my file Santa and got straight into the run. The beginning of this run is a bit of a snooze fest. We have an unskippable 11 level tutorial, where most of the levels don't even require us to summon anything, mainly just forcing us to read text boxes and familiarize ourselves with the base mechanics. Our first summon comes on level 0-6, where the game just wants you to summon anything for the first time. So needless to say, Santa passes. Next, there's 0-9, which I talked about earlier. We have to wait for Santa to spawn either a chocolate bar or a candy cane. But there is one more twist to this level. We have to pry this shit from Santa's cold, dead hands. Or I guess his warm, dead mittens. Whenever Santa spawns a food item, it spawns in his hands, and he immediately tries to eat it. He has a death grip on this stuff. Even just trying to forcefully remove it or replace it with something else, he still holds on to it. My exact technique on this will vary from level to level, but this time I was able to get a sleek handoff from Santa to the chef after a few tries. 0-10 will be the final level of the tutorial where you might need to summon something to win. The star rate starts on this high ledge that is too high to jump up normally. For this video, I decided to play on the Scribblenauts collection release of the game because 1, it has button controls. The touch controls are just so awful to play on my Nintendo Microsoft DS system, holy shit. But with these button controls, there's also a pretty cool glitch that allows you to double jump. You just jump in a direction, remove all inputs in midair, and then input another jump after. Using this glitch, we can easily beat this level without Santa, but for all of the glitch purists out there, this run is absolutely possible without the glitch. Almost any level we use this glitch to get an additional height on can be beaten using the moon shoes on Santa's loot table. These give you a much higher jump than the double jump. I'll just be using the double jump throughout this run when I can, mainly to save me time from having to wait for the 1 out of 29 chance of getting moon shoes, which trust me, I'll be dealing with a lot regardless. So clearing this level gets us through the tutorial and on to World 1. When you get into a world, it's split into 2 sections, puzzle levels and action levels, with each section having 11 levels each. One thing I will mention is that the Aller reward for each level is determined by a few factors, but mainly the less items you spawn and the less time you take, the better. Since this run is pretty heavily RNG based, my Aller amounts wouldn't exactly match yours if you're following along. The goal is to get to 25,000 Allers to unlock World 10. I actually uploaded the full uncut run of this to my second channel if you're interested. I do some commentary over it. It's a much chiller vibe, and oh yeah, I have a second channel now. Go subscribe. So we start with 1-1 puzzle. This level is pretty simple. We just need to spawn 2 items that are related to 2 out of 4 of these professions. So in this level, we actually have a couple options. The chef will take any food item, like in the tutorial, the firefighter will take a kitten, or the police officer will accept a boomerang as a protective weapon. I should probably mention how we get Santa to infinitely spawn items. Usually Santa will walk up to every NPC and the player to give them a gift, but once they receive a gift, he doesn't immediately give them another. We can get around this by giving either Santa, the NPC, or Maxwell a handheld item, because this resets Santa for some reason and allows him to spawn more gifts. So you can just cycle the items in Santa's hands over and over again until you eventually get what you want. I end up getting the kitten and the boomerang first here. 1-2 wants you to capture this butterfly, and this can be done by jumping and attempting to pick it up at the same time. You don't even need a double jump here. 1-3 wants you to jump further off this ramp than the kid on the bicycle. While you actually can double jump far enough, the starite won't spawn unless you pass the kid with some sort of movement item. So equipping moon shoes will do the trick here. 1-4 wants us to spawn 3 farm animals, and the definition of farm animal is pretty loose, so any combination of puppies and kittens will work here. 1-5 we can't do because we need to spawn some sort of refreshment or water source for this man in the desert. 1-6 we have to return this cat to the girl, which we can do with either a double jump or moon shoes. 1-7 we need a sharp object to cut down this tree. None of our items work here because even if we could destroy the tree with like a boomerang or something, that still does not count as cutting it. 1-8 wants us to clean up this park, which we can easily do without any summons, while 1-9 wants us to knock over these bottles without cheating. And I tried not to cheat. Santa even spawned a baseball for me, but I ended up throwing it into the back of his skull and got kind of annoyed, so I just used his body to cheat instead. 1-10, protect the sandwich from the ants. You don't need any summons for this, just jump around, go crazy. And 1-11 is possible with Santa, but I opted not to do it for this run. Now at this point, you might have noticed that this run is not that cool so far, especially compared to the previous video. A lot of these levels boil down to wait for Santa to spawn the right thing, or you just don't really need any items to begin with. Like on the action side, 1-1 we can double jump to get the starite out of the tree. 1-2 we can use any object to weigh down these buttons to get to the starite. 1-3 we just wait around for moon shoes. And 1-4 where we can just lean objects against this button to open this gate. But I promise, this is not the whole run. We're only on World 1 right now, and these are the simplest levels in the game. I can give you just a crumb of tech to hold you over here. 1-5 hides the starite in this small passageway. Usually you would use some sort of rope to pull it out, but we do not have that luxury here. So which item could help us retrieve something from a small space? It's time for the shrink ray. Now the shrink ray in the original Scribblenauts is actually a pretty cool item. Since this game doesn't have adjectives, this is one of the few ways that you can actually alter existing objects in the game. And while that is cool and all, it doesn't really help us here. Not to mention that the shrink ray only gets one shot before disappearing when Maxwell shoots it. Well, that is if Maxwell shoots it. If an NPC shoots any gun, they get infinite ammo. So if we give Santa this gun, we can aggro him by throwing another object at him. Santa will then relentlessly continue to attack us with whatever weapon he has. Meaning with the shrink ray, he can shrink both us and this box blocking our path. Then we're just small enough to sneak right in and grab the starite. It's super neat that the shrink ray also works on Maxwell here, because not only does this game not have adjectives, but also when they did add adjectives in Super Scribblenauts, you were not able to apply them to yourself. They only started to allow that in Scribblenauts Unlimited. I don't know, I just think it's cool. I skipped 1-6 for now, but I ended up coming back for it later. I also skipped 1-7 and 1-8 and did not come back for them. They both just require tools that we don't have access to. I will come back for 1-9, and while 1-10 doesn't seem to be possible, 1-11 technically is, but man, you've gotta hate yourself. If you remember this level from my first video, you have to do some really annoying physics jank off screen to plinko the starite to you, and then catch it before it sinks into the water. Now imagine that, but you have to use random items with different hitboxes instead. I'm good on this one. It'll be a last resort. So after clearing World 1 with 7,851 dollars, I decided to unlock World 2 for 2,000 of them. 2-1 action wants us to dig up this starite hidden underground in this box. Normally this level would be an instant skip for us since we don't have any tools to dig with in our set, but luckily a shovel spawns in this level. Unfortunately though, this dog will try to maul you the second you pick it up. Now it may be technically possible to juke this dog in the perfect way to get past him and dig up the box before he catches you, but it seems that that would require me to be good at video games. So let's invent a new technique. Now out of every item on this list, which one do you think would allow us to most effectively kill a dog? If you guess the boomerang, not really. This thing does pretty bad damage and is really inconsistent in combat. Chocolate? No, you can't feed NPCs food items in this game. No, our weapon of choice is the Christmas sweater. So for some reason, when Maxwell puts on the Christmas sweater, Santa gains the protective emotion. All this really means is that Santa will attack anyone that tries to harm what he is protecting. So by donning a Christmas sweater and summoning a few more Santas, we can create an army of old ass men to ruthlessly slaughter this little dog. After the deed is done, digging up our prize is smooth sailing. 2-3 is a heist. We can't go straight for the starite because the camera will activate this gate, and we can't kill any police officers. So the plan is to get moon shoes and a holdable object that we can give to the police officer to disarm him. We'll also need either a boomerang, a shrink ray, or some other blunt object to break these boxes, and then we'll be able to get to the starite no problem. 2-4 is another shrink ray level. Here we want to aggro Santa to shoot us and this gate, and then we can just barely squeeze through this gap to get the starite. I did 2-5 using a shrink ray to shrink myself and the gate again. You just have to be careful to make this jump at the end. Alternatively, this gate will open when you get a movement item, so you could also just get moon shoes instead of the shrink ray. 2-6, woo, another shrink ray level. Yeah, another shrink ray level. Okay. 2-7 puts us to war. The plan was to assemble an army of Santas, but I got pretty lucky when disarming the soldiers that one of them hit the other and caused infighting. Then using the dropped gun, I shot the remaining soldier and saved my final shot to take down the starite, and I missed, so I used moon shoes double jump as a backup strategy. 2-8, I have no shovel, but I must dig. When I was routing 2-9 on stream, I was doing some crazy shit, but I don't think it's possible. There's just too much going on in this level, and if you can force a clear here, it would probably just take a very long time, and you wouldn't get that many allers for it. 2-10 is a pretty fun one. In this level, we need to get this starite without blowing it up. So much as touching any of these barrels below will cause a chain reaction where the starite is right in range to get damaged. Just moving the starite even a little bit would give us a lot more options. If only there was a way to just move this starite even a tiny little bit. Oh shit, I thought you only drove sleighs. Santa will drive the car away from the gas station because he is scared of the zombie, which allows us to set off the chain reaction safely and use moon shoes to get back up to height. 2-11 is a mess of a level. I think I was able to beat it in testing, but in the actual run, it was not working in my favor. You can absolutely beat this level with a big Santa army, but the time it takes and all the variables involved with doing that makes it not that worth it in terms of allers. So I decided to move on to World 5, spending 10,000 of my 11,117 allers. It might seem like a big investment, but the later worlds give much bigger aller payouts for completing levels. 5-1 wants us to get this starite before it's delivered to the other side. You can pretty easily grab this one by doing a double jump into the water at the beginning and then tapping the pickup button on the starite. This will have Maxwell automatically catch up to it over time. If you hate fun and glitches though, you can much less consistently do this by getting the boat to run over Santa to slow it down, allowing you to catch up as his corpse gets mangled in the propellers. 5-2 requires us to get past this gate, which we can't really do with a shrink ray, and 5-3 we have no way to get to this ledge because the moon shoes explode when they touch the water. 5-4 it introduces us to the most annoying technique in this run. So to do this level normally, you have to Actually, I don't know if I've ever done this level normally. I think you have to dig up a treasure chest or dive underwater, and we can't do either of those. But luckily, this starite is right next to us with only a small gate in between. You might think that this is a simple shrink ray level, but the gap it creates is not large enough for us to fit through. So we have to get a little more creative. If we can't get to the starite is gonna have to get to us. Now, this sucks hard. It's pretty hard to move the starite any significant distance, but fortunately, Santa does provide us with a variety of item shapes. So after shrinking ourselves and the gate, I begin trying to use various items as wedges between the starite and the invisible wall. This takes a very long time, but it's definitely doable. The rest of World 5's action levels we have access to are not possible. 5-5, 5-6, and 5-7 all require us to go underwater, which you can only do in this game using items like diving gear. But World 5's puzzle levels are much more fruitful. 5-1 wants us to help this man survive on this island, so we can have Santa spawn a single chocolate bar and then eat it right in front of his face. If you watched my first video, you might remember 5-2, where we have to get a chocolate bar from these vending machines without killing this bully. Back then, we were able to use our vending machine glitch to non-lethally trap him forever and never let him out. But now, we have nothing to trap him with. I mean, trying it without summons is a bit of a headache. I don't want to say it's impossible, but if you get hit once during this this long animation, it gets canceled. And if you kite the bully too far to the right, he will just attack the girl and fail you anyway. We can't kill him, so a Santa Claus army will not work here. My immediate thought was to spawn a shrink ray so I could hopefully pick him up and stuff him in the vending machine myself. Now, this proved pretty difficult because of how this level was designed. Not only do you fail this level if you kill the bully, you also fail if this girl is scared at all. Not if the bully specifically hits her, just if anything incites fear at all. This is a problem because Santa is a clumsy asshole. The way Santa works is that he runs up to the nearest person who he hasn't given a gift yet and spawns an item between them. But what happens if Santa is too close? Or what happens if the item Santa spawns is really big? The item flies around at high speeds and hits anyone in its path, causing them to either aggro or become afraid. This actually happens so often with Santa just hitting himself and getting scared of himself and then breaking for the rest of the level. You have to reset a lot because of that. But just spawning items with Santa in this level can cause an instant fail. Not to mention that Santa will run to give the bully a gift, get his shit rocked, and then run away straight towards the girl, causing him to aggro on her and also fail the level. This means that just getting an item in this level is a very delicate act. It took a lot of attempts, but eventually I was able to get the shrink ray, shrink the bully, and realize you can't pick up shrunken people in this game. But luckily, the shrunken bully is a lot slower, meaning we can pretty easily kite him around, retrieve the chocolate bar, and get the star ray. 5-3 wants us to grow a flower, which I don't think we can do. But 5-4 wants us to get this lady into the swimming pool. This is the level where Santa's clumsiness is actually pretty helpful, as he can scare her away into the pool with just one spawn. 5-5, you would be surprised how easy it is to get this whale into the water. Like in my last video, I was able to just push it while holding a rope, and this time all it takes is throwing an action figure at it 2 times. 5-6, you need to pitch to this baseball player. You'd think we'd want the baseball here since it's on the loot table and everything, but I think he's hard-coded to just swing at anything that's round. So we got a hunk of coal first, and I guess that's good enough. 5-7, another underwater level, but 5-8 is a race against this lady. Now in my first video, I barely even mentioned this level because you don't need summons to beat it. And I just want to say, yes, that is still true, but also this level is way more annoying than I thought. If you just hold forward normally most of the time, you will just run into this spike ball 3 times and die. You want to make sure to kick the spike ball at the perfect time so that it has enough momentum to roll past this big rock, and then hold forward, pushing the rock all the way to the end. This is super inconsistent, and I think I just got really lucky on my first video to do this setup completely by accident. 5-9 wants us to get the bus out of the river, which we don't really have any means of doing, and 5-10 wants us to transport this box, which we also can't really do. Finally, we get to 5-11, which we can do without any summons. We do it by pushing this boat by hand to get the man back to shore through a thunderstorm. He can tank a few strikes, so this one is pretty easy. Finishing World 5 leaves me with $15,683, and I was also a little confused. I was supposed to have way more dollars at this point, and I couldn't figure out why. And it turns out, I just forgot to do an entire half of World 2. Yeah, I bet a few of you left comments about that. Why didn't he do World 2 puzzle levels? I actually did, okay? Be patient. Go on. Drop the edit of shame. Come on. 2-1 is another summonless level. You could probably break the piñata faster if you get a boomerang or something from Santa, but sometimes you just want to do something the old-fashioned way, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and throw a present at a piñata 20 times. 2-2, trick or treat. In my last video, I beat this level using the treat route by giving them the chocolate bar from my vending machine. In this video, let me show you the trick route. All you have to do is commit aggravated assault. 2-3 wants you to spawn something this teacher wants for her classroom. Now, I think the intended solution here is to spawn like an apple or something. I thought maybe a snow globe would work. It doesn't, but I actually got a weird solution from either a comment or a Discord message that I just can't find anymore. Basically, just destroying this alarm bell counts for some reason, so we wait for any blunt object from Santa to throw at it. Thank you to whoever showed that to me. I'm sorry I can't find your message. 2-4 is an eye exam, and while you would expect this level to be locked to glasses or something. I think pretty much any object with a lens can count here, so we get a quick camera spawn, and that's all we need. Yeah, enjoy your drive home with the new prescription, buddy. 2-5 has us dressing up this mannequin, so we wait for moon shoes and a Christmas sweater. 2-6 wants us to score a goal on this kid. Unlike the baseball player, this one does have to be a ball, so we need to wait until we can get a baseball. 2-7 wants us to clean up this room. I would like to make a formal apology for spreading misinformation here. In my first video, I said I couldn't beat this level in my vending machine route because I couldn't put the puddle in a vending machine, but actually you can beat this level without any summons. All you have to do is take this coin out of the cash register and huck it at the puddle. Thank you to the people who pointed this out to me in the comments last time, because I just love how niche some of these solutions can be. 2-8 wants us to put 3 groceries in a container and then pay for them. Unfortunately, even though we do have money to pay for them, we don't have a container and there aren't any in this level. 2-9 wants us to feed this girl breakfast and wake up this boy. While we can quite easily wake up the boy with aggravated assault, this girl is very particular about needing breakfast food specifically, so neither chocolate or a candy cane will work here. 2-10 is one of those levels that makes me feel like this Santa route was dev intended, because the stars fucking align here, man. This chef wants a hot meal, something to wash it down, and a sweet treat. And if you look at our item set, you think that the best we could do here is a sweet treat. But let me blow your mind real quick. We wait for the chocolate to spawn, making sure to be ready to snatch it from Santa's hands before he eats it. Then we can turn on the oven, put the chocolate on top, and have it turn into hot chocolate. Something hot, a liquid to wash it down, and a sweet treat all in one. This game is fucking beautiful, man. 2-11, this chef wants us to clean the rat infestation out of his restaurant, so I naturally shove 4 rats into his oven and problem solved. What a healthy restaurant. Now, I did use a moon shoes double jump to get up to this rat, but you can also just kill this rat remotely if you get a kitten. You just have to make sure it's far enough away from the dog so that it doesn't get scared. So actually completing World 2 this time has left us with $23,508. So I decided to go back to World 1 action and play some of the levels I skipped earlier. 1-6 is another level where we have to nudge the starite with items, and man, that was not a lot of allers at all, huh? 1-9, we need to get past this bear. We have a couple ways of breaking this ice block, and while we could do a Santa army versus bear moment, it's a lot easier to just kite the bear off of this cliff. Now, the reason I hate this level is this jump at the end. It's so annoying. Way more annoying on the original touch controls, but like a deceptively very annoying jump. That performance gets us a few more allers, but not quite enough, leaving us at 24,380. I could have attempted 1-11 as well, but I figured it probably still wouldn't have given me enough allers because of how long it would take to set up perfectly, so I decided to spend 5,000 allers to unlock World 3. Now, World 3 seems like it would be kind of tough for this challenge, because off-rip, 3-1 action is impossible since the starite is underwater. This means that all of this world's action levels are off limits to us, and we'll have to profit 5,000 allers off of puzzle levels alone. 3-1 wants us to give Santa something he wants but does not have, and who knows better what Santa wants than Santa. But also, if Santa had this to give to Santa, then Santa had it already, and that means that 3-4 is a snowball fight where we have to return the favor, and unlike my 3 object run, we can't shoot the children this time. I'm sorry, guys. Instead, just hitting them with any blunt object like coal will do the trick. I decided to skip 3-5 and 3-6 to go to 3-7. This is a super strange level where this cow is blocking traffic and this butcher is blocking the cow from leaving. If the cow gets killed by the butcher, the level ends. Let me just say, man, if I was commuting and the traffic jam was caused by a butcher just terrorizing a cow, I would be so pissed. We can disarm the butcher using a handheld item, and then the butcher will no longer aggro on the cow. Problem solved, kind of, because even though the cow is no longer in danger, it is still scared of the butcher, causing it to run away from him anytime he gets close. But I decided to slowly push all of the traffic against the cow running for its life until we can eventually open up enough space for the other cars to fill in. With only 1 or 2 more levels needed to finish this off, I decided to go to 3-10. This level just wants us to retrieve this magic lamp, which we can do using a boomerang to break these stalactites. Once you grab the lamp, this bridge at the beginning falls, but we can easily cross the gap using a double jump. And you know what? Glitch haters, you've had it too good for too long, okay? Maybe just stop being a baby and enjoy some fun glitches every once in a while, huh? Is that so fucking hard? Why am I even giving you alternative solutions? You don't deserve them. Okay, yeah, you can also cross the gap with moon shoes if you want. Now that level gets us to $25,084, but I felt like with an RNG run like this, if anyone happens to be following along for some reason, I should get a comfortable amount above 25,000 rather than just barely making it so that the time bonuses aren't a huge factor for the run. So I went back to 3-8 where we have to stop this boat from hitting an iceberg. My immediate thought was to give Santa control of the boat. Oh yeah, never let this man near your boat, I guess. Surprisingly, I found out that just putting Santa on the boat will stop him. The only thing is you have to hope that Santa doesn't spawn an electronic item that would explode upon hitting the water. But barring that one case, this is a pretty easy starite to pick up. That gets me $26,374, which is more than enough. If you're following along and still don't have enough dollars, first off, skill issue. Second, I would suggest going for 2-11 action, the prison break level. This level is really annoying and inconsistent, but you can do it using only Santa items by making a Santa army. Another fun strategy is to have Santa shrink the gun so that the regular sized prisoners cannot pick it up, or you could go for 1-11 puzzle where you can grab the high flower using moon shoes, then kill the bee and the piranha with a boomerang to easily collect all 3 flowers. But this brings us to 10-1 action, the entire reason that this video is coming out 1 year later instead of an addendum to my last video. In this level, the goal is to fall and grab the starite. Hitting this tripwire will release this gate. That's it. Even so, this is the most horseshit level in this entire run. You want to know how to beat this level? You put 2 Santas in this chamber with the starite, make them spawn a ton of garbage to jumble everything around, and then jump down and pray. In an entire run based on a random 29 item loot table, I could not imagine a better final obstacle. Now, perhaps there is strategy to this. Maybe there's a visual cue or a lineup that you can reliably set up. Good luck finding it. You see, it's impossible to even see what actually happens to these items after you set off the tripwire. You can't move Maxwell while he's off screen, and there is no way to scroll fast enough once you start falling. So as much as I would have loved to do some trial and error to figure out the best setup, there's nothing to go off of. Even worse, you don't even know where to fall. You could have had a perfect setup where the starite got delayed, landed to the side, or landed on top of a different item, but how would you ever know? You just have to guess where to land and hope the starite is there. This final level is 100% RNG, and this challenge based entirely on RNG. And to be honest, I don't think I'd have it any other way. So let's fill up this little chamber, jumble our shit, and let's go gambling. Okay, see, it just works out sometimes. That's how that level goes. Now, the rest of this run is pretty anticlimactic. 10-4 we can beat without any summons. You just pick up these goggles and then the starite drops. 10-5 wants us to hit this lever to drop the starite. This one is literally like a pick-a-pipe level from Mario Maker. This unlocks 10-11, which is just a victory lap that requires no summons. So there you go. Scribblenauts for the DS has been beaten using any percent rules with only one unique word. And it's not even a compound word, so people can't be annoying about it. Just a little side note, since I know I'm gonna get a lot of comments about this, I'm just gonna talk about it here. In my Super Scribblenauts minimum words run, I got a lot of people saying my use of the adjective random was cheating because it gives access to a 26 item loot table, when I had also banned Maxwell's notebook for having access to every possible item. So I'm assuming similar people will comment about the use of Santa's loot table. I think there's a pretty obvious difference between 26 items and literally all 22,000 to anyone who's not trying to be annoying. To me, using a controlled loot table is like having a box of various tools and having to find cool ways to apply them. Cool stuff like the Christmas sweater Santa army technique and really niche solutions like the hot chocolate level are born from this really unique tool set that we have to work with. This is different from an item like Maxwell's notebook, which is just an infinite toolbox that you just wait for it to spit out the right tool. But that's besides the point. This video is meant to find out if it's possible to beat the game by only summoning one single word in the notebook, and I did that. If you think the use of Santa is cheating, go route your own run with your own rules. Find an item that can beat the chef tutorial and has enough utility to get 25,000 dollars, then let me know. As I messed with this game and Super Scribblenauts, I found it really fun to dive into these games' mechanics and niche interactions, so if you are able to find out any sort of one summon alternative to Santa, then please let me know. I'd love to learn about it. Thank you everyone for watching. If you want to see the full uncut run, check out the full upload on my new second channel. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, a comment, hype points, subscribing, or even support me on Patreon. My channel does a lot of weird things, challenges like this, retrospectives on nostalgic games, and Airbud, I guess. But I plan to make more Scribblenauts in the future. Particularly Scribblenauts Unlimited Minimum Words is a run that I've promised in the past and started messing around with. So expect to see that sometime in the future, not soon, because man, that game is a monster to route. Big shout out to my patrons and members, and big shout out to my high tier patrons Llama 3 Lord and Alpine Skyline. If you want to shout out early access and behind the scenes stuff for my future uploads, go support me on Patreon or become a member to the channel. I also wanted to thank everyone once more for 100k. I'm super grateful to get so much support, and the growth from even just 1 year ago is way greater than I could have ever imagined.